2023, and they sure did that in the opening weekend. That brings us to note number 2, MVP. Once again, I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Now, we did this last weekend with the Heisman Trophy in the opening weekend of college football. Travis Hunter from Colorado was being thrown around like crazy, playing both sides of the ball. He had a solid week 2 as Colorado gets a win over Nebraska, but we like to overreact in week number 1. So what am I going to do in week number 1 of the NFL season? I'm going to do just that. I mentioned it. Jordan Love throws the most touchdowns and the only quarterback to throw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Hey, guess who leads the league in quarterback rating? Jordan Love. So my week number 1 overreaction is that Jordan Love leads the MVP race through week number 1. In the NFL, the MVP is a quarterback award, and no quarterback shined brighter in week number 1 than Jordan Love. I know it sounds insane. I'm with you. But through week 1 of the NFL season, Jordan Love leads the MVP race. Blows my mind, too. That's why I'm wearing the jersey for the second day in a row. I didn't wash it. You can tell a little bit. It's a Chinese jersey, $19 on eBay. Highly recommend. Let's move on to note number 3. I've been spending a lot of time in the car the last 2 weeks. A lot of driving to Green Bay and Milwaukee and back to Madison. So I've been listening to a lot of pop radio. I cannot believe, as much of a generational superstar as Taylor Swift is, how much I heard the song Cruel Summer the last 2 weeks. I mean, it literally played twice in 3 songs 2 weeks in a row. I was listening to Ryan Seacrest, great host on America's Top 40. He was the number 2 song in the land the last 2 weeks. And then as America's Top 40 wraps up, Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift, the first song to play. Played twice in 3 songs 2 weeks in a row. Too much Taylor Swift on pop radio, as much as a generational talent. as she is. I love her. I respect her. I could go without hearing Cruel Summer for a while. Final note is referees. Wisconsin loses to Washington State on Saturday, and they played bad. They didn't play well. I'm with you. The offense looked like crap in the first half. But when the referees make themselves known and they continue to make appearances for bad calls, it ruins the game. It ruins the legitimacy of the game. The referees stole the show Saturday night, as Washington State should be celebrating a great victory. Everybody's talking about the referees. A safety that should have been a safety, as the Badgers had Cam Moore down in his own end zone. A fumble that should not have been a fumble, as Ches Malusi of the Badgers is called for a fumble when he didn't fumble the football. The referees made too much of an appearance on Saturday night. Do the Badgers win the game if both those calls go in their favor? I don't think so. But still, referees making too much of an appearance. That is a Strouf's notes on my $4 Facebook Marketplace purchase from the weekend. Big Packers win. Jordan Love looks terrific. I make the MVP comments a little tongue-in-cheek, but nonetheless, impressive showing by him. The Badgers go down hard. That was ugly. We'll dive into both of those a little bit more with Chris Orr coming up next. As Chris Orr, I know he'll have a lot of thoughts on Jordan Love and certainly the Badgers lost. You hear him on ESPN Wisconsin College Game Day. He joins us next. It's Mr. Irrelevant live on ESPN Madison. Our conversation with Chris Orr on Mr. Irrelevant is brought to you by my friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits made in beautiful Door County. They've got everything you could ask for to upgrade your football tailgate or party or gathering with their 9-time award-winning rye whiskey, the delicious Rock Island rum, that green bottle of Door County Distillery gin, or my personal favorite, the cherry brandy. Mix that in with your old fashions. Plus, over on their website, doorcountydistillery.com, they've got all these unique cocktail recipes that you need to try out. I promise they'll be the hit of the aforementioned gathering. And while you're there, find the retailer nearest you so you can pick up some Door County Distillery. DoorCountyDistillery.com. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. Now, without further ado, here's the former Badgers linebacker, Chris Orr. Should have been the USFL Defensive Player of the Year, was a first-team selection in the USFL. I don't know how impressive that is with only 8 teams, but we'll talk to him about it. You hear him on ESPN Wisconsin College Game Day before and after every Wisconsin game on ESPN Wisconsin. It's my man Chris Orr joining us in studio. Chris, good to see you, my man.
Good to
the
see
hair
you,
looks good.
Thank you, man.
How you feel? It's your wife's birthday today, so
Yeah,
I
I feel
appreciate you
great.
taking the time coming in today. I hope that doesn't get you in the doghouse too much.
Nah, not too much, man. Duty calls. She understands.
Well, I hope she understood Judy calling was me trying to just piss you off for the next 40 or so minutes. But
You can't push it down.
yes, I can. I've done it successfully. Well, we'll see what I can do. Let's start with the positives before
Okay.
we get to the negatives of Saturday and Wisconsin losing to Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love, curious on your impressions. You heard me say he leads the MVP race through 1 week. I say that a little tongue-in-cheek. But it is a quarterback award.
Right.
No quarterback was more impressive than Jordan Love. Outside of maybe the completion percentage, it was just over 55%. But he throws 3 touchdowns, doesn't throw an interception, leads the league in quarterback rating. A really good first appearance for him as the guy of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. He looked really poised. I mean, I think he looked how especially Green Bay organization, expected him to look. He's not a rookie. You know, he's been in the league for a few years now. Even though it's his first start as the guy, you know, everybody wanted to hype that up as there's going to be some crazy pressure. But he's an established pro. Like, he's a vested NFL player already. So what that means is you're a true vet. You've officially passed the point of being a rookie. You're no longer even a young guy. He's actually a true vet on that offense. Spread the ball around, made good checks at the line to get him to the correct runs.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job of fooling the Bears with his eyes. I mean, he just looked very poised. You know, exactly how you want your quarterback of your franchise to look, and he looks the part. I think the MVP thing is. You're a little wild for saying that. Only reason I'm gonna say it's wild is just because
It's 1 week.
It's week 1. Everybody still needs to get their footing. Everybody takes a different approach to the preseason. Like, some starters, this is their first actual game action, or more than 8 snaps, or whatever the case is. So that's my only reason why I'll say hold your horses.
Well, I agree. Hold your
But he does
horses.
look good.
He does look good. We'll get back into it. But why I say that is because we love to overreact after 1 week, right? Like the MVP isn't decided until week 14,
For
and
sure.
Jordan Love is not going to be in the race. As impressed as I was, no, he
What's
won't
up with you? You don't even sound like a real fan.
as impressed as I was, he's going to come back down to earth, and we'll talk about why.
Mhm.
But like, I always go back to something you told me in the middle of the summer, which has really stuck with me. And a lot of the things you say are idiotic. So for this to stick with me, like it should say something. And that was, you thought he would come out of the gates pretty solid,
Mhm.
right? Like first 4 weeks for Jordan Love would be really good.
Yep.
But you as a linebacker who played in the league, you've been through the grind of a season. As you add up the tape and have more ability to scheme against the Packers offense and what Jordan Love does really well, he's going to come back down to earth and probably have some hiccups and growing pains mid-season.
For sure.
We'll truly know what he is. I don't know, mid-season, week 10, week 12, come November. But I think for week 1, and we'll stick by talking with week 1, you have to be excited and impressed by what you saw out of the new QB1 for Green Bay.
Yeah, for sure. Packer fans, everybody out there that loves the Packers, you should definitely be excited. You know, he looked the part. But yeah, what I said is true. Once you start accumulating these games, people start catching on to your tendencies because everybody has a tendency. Everybody gives something away. Everybody forces the ball to somebody maybe they shouldn't, or whatever the case is. In the past, even Aaron Rodgers did it. Like when we played him, we knew he was going to force the ball to Devontae Adams. At some point, man, that's probably sounds nostalgic to Packers fans.
That
seems
that's
like so long
that's salt
ago.
in the wound still, though. Still salt in the wound.
But for mainly using him as the second Hall of Fame quarterback back-to-back for the organization, he had tendencies as well. Jordan Love is going to have to find a way to grow through those tendencies once people actually start game planning against it, because he doesn't have an eraser at a receiver who you can say, I don't care if this isn't a good look. I don't care if you're double covered. I'm just going to throw it to you. You're going to make a play. It's either going to be incomplete or you're going to catch it. I'm not worried about throwing a pick if I target you. And I think that's probably the one piece missing from the Packers, especially after week 1. If you see them, man, it looks like a really good team, man. They're young and hungry.
So they operated and played like a playoff team. I would agree with that.
For sure.
But how much of this is the Bears equal bad?
Yeah.
The Packers equal good, right? Like I think maybe both can be true, but the Bears looked horrible, right? Like there was so much talk about this new and improved offense. They made some linebacker moves. Obviously, your guys and TJ Edward and Jack Sanborn are both there, and they had Tremaine Edmonds. Like this was supposed to be a really good team,
for sure,
or a good team, I should say,
for sure.
They didn't look that way at all, but it's only week 1.
Yeah, true. They didn't look the part. I think for the Bears, actually, they were just playing too cautious. They were trying to be too careful with Justin Fields. You can tell they kept trying to get him in third and manageable, something a little more favorable for him. And you can't do that when you're behind. You can't do that when you have absolutely no momentum. You can't do that when emotions are super high. You need to take advantage of the emotions of the game. And Green Bay did it with explosive plays, and turnovers, stuff of that sort. But I think you should still be happy as a Packers fan, because even though the Bears looked bad and that was a piece of it, this Green Bay Packers team definitely looks good. And I think the biggest positive was their defense. I think the most excitement for the Packers organization is their defense. You're seeing the plan take fruition. You're seeing the 8 first-round draft picks with some experience. You see what they can do. You understand that, you're going to give up some. It's the NFL. You're going to give some stuff up. Everybody's a great player. But what do you want to see from your defense? You want to see them bend but don't break, create turnovers, create havoc in the backfield. They did it all afternoon.
How much stock should we put into week 1? Because I'm still kind of toying with that, right? Like you heard how excited I was in the open. Again, I say it's some of it tongue in cheek. It was an impressive win,
right?
By all means. But I'm curious how much my expectations should change, because I do still think there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be, maybe a stretch of 3 games this season where the Packers lose all 3. But when you put on that showing in week 1 without your top target, or what is viewed as your top deep threat in Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, who had 2 touchdowns, was on a snap count, right? And Rashawn Gary is not fully healthy. Eric Stokes isn't back yet, dealing with a Liz Frank injury. What is that? Liz Frank, singular?
It's in your foot.
Okay.
It's in your foot. It's like you break, I don't know if it's the inside or the outside part of your foot, but you break a little something. I think it's the inside. I think Liz Frank is like the inside, right on your arch.
That sounds awful.
Right on your arch, you break it. Yeah, apparently it's painful. That and your 5th metatarsal.
Anything in the foot sounds painful.
Outside.
But he's not back yet. So, you look at all these pieces that maybe weren't fully healthy or not playing at all, like Christian Watson, and his team's still putting up 38 points.
Yeah.
The defense is creating turnovers, a great pick six by Quay Walker, and the offense was humming. I mentioned 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions for Jordan Love. Aaron Jones got in the end zone twice, 1 receiving, 1 rushing, before he had a little hammy tweak, it looked like. So I don't know how much stock to put into this, and I'm curious. If you're a guy in that locker room, obviously you're excited, but now it's back down to earth Monday, Tuesday as you get ready for the Falcons on Sunday.
Sure.
It's exciting. How much stock should I put into it as a fan? Because obviously I'm excited the day after.
Right. I mean, honestly, you should put all your stock into it. But the only thing I'll say is you should caution yourself, because the NFL is a week by week game. Everything changes every week. A team might look completely different from week 1 to week 2. College, on the other hand, you can go into a game understanding, the Wisconsin should beat Buffalo. Even if they don't look amazing, you should beat them at some point or another. You're going to win this game. NFL doesn't work like that. But as of right now, you have nothing else to go off of. All you have is week 1. It's the first real game of the season. So that's all you can do. Just caution yourself. Like, you can put all your stock into it. You can say Green Bay looks like the best team in the NFL if you want to. But you have to understand that it's a week by week thing, and it is going to change. Like, I just hate when people go off of week 1 or week 2 and say, "Oh, we're gonna win the Super Bowl." Like, I hate that. The MVP talk, it's all right. You're all right now, but at least you're not saying this puts y'all as the favorites in the NFC.
Look,
all that BS.
I'd be curious to hear what Cowboys fans are saying today. Right, a 40-0 win on Sunday Night Football.
You know what they're saying?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
And look, as much as I'd like to sit here and say Green Bay looks like the best team in the NFC. When Mike McCarthy, the former head coach of the Packers, is leading his team in New York, winning 40-0.
Yeah, they look
it's not
good.
too shabby. But week 1's weird, always, right? And Packers fans know this specifically because you look at the last 2 years, they've gotten boat raced in the first game of the season. Last year to the Vikings, 2 years ago to the New Orleans Saints. And now this year they respond with a boat race of their own, except they're just on the winning side. So it's always really hard to gauge the amount of stock you should put into week 1.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling good, right? Like Jordan Love looked good in the preseason. It translated into week 1. And that was obviously the biggest question for this team. Now, there's other questions that need to be answered. How good is the defense? They looked really good in week 1. But again, it goes back to Chicago didn't look good.
Yeah, Chicago just didn't look good.
I don't know if Justin Fields is the guy, right? I went into the season thinking Justin Fields is probably the guy for Chicago. They might have finally hit it. Yeah. He looked not very good in week 1. He's very fast. He's just not very good.
I think he... Just from watching the game, you can tell he was thinking about the fact that he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's been advised, don't take off too much. Don't try to do too much with your legs. Stand in the pocket and throw it and deliver it or whatever the case is. But he just looked a little cautious. He looked like he was playing too cautious. Even their play calling was very cautious. Like, they were down by 3 possessions and run, pass. Understanding that you want to get Justin Fields in a 3rd and 3 because that's when his legs truly are a weapon. I can go get this first. If nothing's open, I can take off. I know I can get this. But, yeah, I think as a Packers fan, though, you're still happy. Packers played well. Bears looked bad, but the Packers did play well still. 2 things can be true. That can be true.
Yeah, and I hope that's the case because that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the Bears were the worst team in the NFL last year. They were one of 2 teams that were 3-14. Yeah. They built up a lot. They brought a lot in. DJ Moore, he was quiet. I mentioned the defensive players they brought in. So you thought they would be improved. They just didn't look the part in week 1. Jordan Love, though, did look the part in week 1, and that's the biggest thumbs up for me from the Packers win over the Bears, 38-20. Again, the score of the final of that one. Chris Orr is with me here on Mr. Irrelevant. Chris, we want to get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, man. I know this is a sore subject for you. Before we get into it, actually, I did want to bring up Justin Fields obviously played at Ohio State. Ohio State or Minnesota, who do you hate more as a former Badger?
Minnesota.
Excuse me?
Minnesota.
Is that what you guys call them?
That's what I call them.
Okay.
I hate Minnesota.
You call them hoes? I mean, is that what we're doing here? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, like, Minnesota, it's the oldest rivalry in college in all of football. They're just a little smug, man. I really don't like PJ Fleck. I really don't like him. Honestly, before, like when Jerry Kill was there, it was just like about the ball. It was about the football. But I really don't like PJ Fleck. I know that when they beat us in 2018 and they got the axe, it pissed me off personally that they were parading the axe all around the state. Not understand because at that point they didn't have it for 14 years.
Right.
And they were acting like it was their national championship, which is Like in my mind, I was like, man, you do this with like the Big Ten championship, or you do this with like a playoff win or something like that. Like that's a little more understandable. I understand what the X means, but like, man, they had it to a point where you could rent it out in your wedding. You could rent it out to have it in your wedding.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know this.
Yes. That's why, man, I'm so glad you're giving me this opportunity. That's why when my senior year, I after the game, I said something about it. I said like, oh, they were disrespecting the X, because they were. It was, to me, that's disrespectful to the players, the coaches, and not only in that game, but all the years prior.
Yeah.
And people were like, what? Like, even at Wisconsin, you go touch the X. Yeah, you can come touch the X when we're giving like a stadium tour or something like that.
Sure.
You can't just rent the X to have in your wedding. You can't just have the X paraded around your state fair like it's some toy. Oh man, I hated it. Yeah. And I don't respect him because this is something for everybody to pay attention to. Pay attention to this with all coaches, actually. This will tell you a little something about him. When he got to the University of Minnesota and, you know, he does a football camp, it says PJ Flex football camp. And then at the bottom it says Minnesota football. But PJ Fleck is what's in bold. And it's like, bro, it's not about you. Like it's about the university. So yeah, man. I have so much. I could go on a whole rant about.
No,
that,
I get it. He's not my favorite either.
I hate Ohio State too.
I also hate Ohio State.
I hate everybody.
Yeah, that's fair. You're a competitor. You're
Minnesota,
a linebacker.
Iowa. I hate Iowa. I hate Iowa with a passion.
Yeah.
I hate Iowa with a passion. They wish they were us, man. I hate Iowa.
So I want to go back to the acts of the wedding thing.
Yeah.
So they rented it out.
Mm-hmm.
You guys went it back in 19, your senior year.
Yep.
What year did you get married?
What year did I get married? 21.
So we did have the acts at that point.
Yes.
Depending on what time of the year
I
you
think
got
so.
married, I guess.
March.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we
we had
had the
that.
acts in March of 21.
Yeah.
Did it make an appearance at your wedding?
No,
Why not?
it doesn't need to.
But that's almost like you love the term "get your lick back," right?
Uh-huh.
Like getting your win
Oh,
back.
that would have been dope.
And we'll talk about the Washington State game where Wisconsin had the opportunity to get their lick back
Yeah.
at Washington State after they beat them at Camp Randall last year. But get your lick back. It would have been great to bring the axe to your wedding.
Yeah. Dang. I'm mad I didn't think about that, bro. That would have been dope.
That would have been
I
sweet.
could have added PJ in
Yeah.
Minnesota. Oh, so mad.
Yeah.
I'm so mad now.
So you're not about the theatrics.
No, I'm not about the theatrics.
Okay.
I
mean, that
like-
makes sense for you.
No, I'm not about the theatrics, especially when it comes to football, because football is a gladiator sport. We play this game with our pads. It's a physical sport. There's no need for me to talk. I can knock you out, though. I can like, this is gonna sound bad, but like legally, I can kill you out here. Like, you know what I'm saying, though? Like, I can hit you so hard,
Legally.
but you know what I mean? Like, I can hit you so hard, you know, God forbid that you like pass away. And like, I'm not going to prison, bro. So I don't need to be crazy.
Am I a bad person for laughing at this?
I don't need these theatrics. I don't need that.
I could legally make you pass away.
For real though. Think about it.
That
People
is
used to pass. They used to die back in the day. I forgot who the president was, but I want to say they were like thinking about stopping football, like college football. Just a few people died back in like Jim Thorpe's days.
really.
Yeah, man, I'm a historian, man. I love football.
Huh.
I love ball.
I know you love
I
football.
love the
That's
purity
why
of
I love
football.
hanging out with you.
We need to bring the purity of football back, man.
So we should be able to legally kill people again.
No,
is that what
no,
you're
not
saying?
that. Like,
We don't
I
need
hate
anybody
targeting.
dying.
Like I hate targeting.
You hate the rule or you hate that it happens?
I hate the rule.
Okay.
I hate the rule because they don't call targeting when it's like a blindside block. They don't call targeting on peel back blocks. They call that illegal blindside block. And that guy doesn't get he gets 15, but he doesn't get ejected in college
Or warned, right?
or warned or anything like that. In the NFL, I won't say he would still get like fined or whatever.
I just can't get over people used to die back in the day. That was,
Yeah.
I mean,
real.
I know, I believe
Like
you.
way back though. Way
How-
back.
what-
when they was playing with leather helmets.
we talking like
I want to
the
play football back
1920s?
then. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You want to play with a leather helmet?
No, I wouldn't have.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.
Dude, I used to own a leather helmet. It was like a giveaway. There's the Green Bay Blizzard. They're an indoor football team up in Green Bay. Way before I worked for them, and I was like a little kid, and they gave out one of their giveaways was a leather helmet. I had that thing for years, dude. I wore it to school once, and my teacher was like, "What are you wearing? That's not a sufficient winter hat." Yeah, so no, I love those things. If anybody wants to send me a leather helmet, I'll take it. All right, let's dive into this because I know this is going to piss you off. You mentioned at the top, I don't have the ability to piss you off. I know your former team does have the ability to piss you off as they go to Washington State and lose on Saturday. I mentioned at the top the referees. Let's get it out of the way. I don't think it changed the outcome of the game necessarily, but it did change some of the outcomes, right? The safety would have tied up the game, the non-safety, when Cam Ward was literally down in his own end zone. So it would have been 24-24. Next offensive drive for the Badgers. Ches Malusi called for a fumble. He didn't fumble the football. So you think he did?
This is what I'll tell you.
They didn't overturn it. They called it a fumble on the field. They didn't have the evidence to overturn it, but it didn't look like a fumble to me.
I'll tell you this. So my dad played 9 years in the NFL, 2 Super Bowls. And what he would always tell us, like if I came to him and saying, "Man, Dad, it was holding me all day," he'll say, "Did the ref throw the flag?" And I said, "Nah." He's like, "Then it's not a hold."
So we're looking at it the reverse way.
That's one. No, let me tell you this though. Let's start with the safety. You tell me the difference between when somebody is about to score a touchdown, they're reaching for the goal line, and they get crushed. They get crushed at the goal line. Literally no forward momentum. They go backwards. But when they zoom in, they see that his index finger with the tip of the ball broke the plane, and they call that a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Even though he went backwards. Didn't even go forward. They call that a touchdown. It's the same thing with that safety. When he got hit, when he started getting hit, they go by the ball. It's by the ball. When he started getting hit, they say that's where you lose your forward progress. The ball was outside of the end zone. Even though he landed in the end zone, his knee touched down in the end zone. Everybody thinks it's that. Your forward progress stops as soon as you start going
So
back.
it's a stupid rule.
Stupid rule. But, and then you go back to the fumble. Here's the thing. I love Ches, by the way. Probably one of my favorite players on that team right now. Love Ches. The thing about the fumble is, what you have to remember is the refs. I love the fact that they called it a fumble because I would have loved that for our defense. I love the fact they called it a fumble and they say, we're just going to look at it. We're just going to look at it. You give yourself the opportunity to correct your mistake if there is one. They didn't say confirm. Confirmed means that, yes, it was a fumble. They said stands, which means that we didn't have enough evidence going either way to say it was a fumble or not a fumble. So we have to go with whatever we called on the field. And they wouldn't have been able to look at it without calling it a fumble.
That was really confusing.
But
you've officially confused.
But you got to think about this. This is why Wisconsin really lost. Wisconsin, if you look at the box score, we won in every category except for one. Turnovers is the one category in every football game that has virtually a direct translation to wins and losses. 3-0. You're not going to win a game. You're not going to win a game doing that. 1, 2. It just didn't necessarily feel like I didn't know our game plan. Like when you watch a game, I always like to see the chess match between the coaches. Sure. I want to see what Coach Longo is setting up. What are you showing? What are you showing this defensive coordinator for Washington State that you're going to have a counter off of in the second half, or you're going to have a counter off of next week, whatever. What did you show last week that they're preparing for this week that you have a counter off of that you're going to catch them in? I didn't necessarily see that. It looked like we were just calling plays based off the flow of the game. There were so many other things that went wrong for us that to blame it on, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I know a lot of fans feel this way. To blame it on those two calls.
Well, I did it to a point.
To a point. To blame it on those two calls is ridiculous. Even after the fumble, we needed to stop them. Even after the safety, we had an opportunity to go score. We get the ball. Chim gets a good return. We get to 35. We get a 15-yard penalty. Now we're knocked out of field goal range, and we ended up punting the ball away. After that, they go down and score again. So it's like you had your opportunities still. Even with that, you still had your opportunities. Like the game is different if, let's say, after that no call safety, we don't get that 15. Even if we don't come away with a touchdown, we come away with 3. Now we're in the lead by 1. Completely different game.
That's true.
Completely different game.
That's
like
true.
There's so many more opportunities. Even the I think it was a hold or a false start that they had on like a 3rd and 9 or whatever, and they made it 4th and 1. They were on like their minus 47 yard line. I would have loved to see. I thought Coach Pickle was. I thought he was going to decline it, and that's an opportunity for him to ask Coach Dicker. I don't know if I can say this. Let's see how much pride you have, man. Let's see how big your kahunas are. Let's see who you are. Are you gonna go for it on 4th and 1? We showed last week that you don't get a 1 yard if you're just trying to bash your head in. At least you're not going to just be able to run for this first down, and then you're also going to give us the ball in your territory, or are you going to punt the ball away? So like there was a lot more to go into that. Like when people blame the refs, I would only blame a ref like I don't know. The famous one, I guess, is like the Des Bryant versus the Packers.
Yeah.
Catch, no catch.
It wasn't
like,
a catch.
That's a big one. That's like a big one, right?
Did the ref throw the flag?
No. Exactly. You see? You're getting it now. Now you're getting it. This is what
I'm learning.
This is what I want all fans to understand is like, this is a competitive game, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is a competitive game. You had opportunity after that. It's not like that was the last play. I would understand if the safety was the play as time expired. I would understand it then. I would truly feel the pain that the fans feel, but nah, man, we looked horrible. We looked horrible. We didn't deserve to win that game. We looked flat. We looked shocked, even just on the sideline. We just looked shocked the whole time. We're fishing for confidence. We didn't have any inner confidence.
I think, it's difficult because, we were talking about hype with Jordan Love and Packers, and there was so much excitement and buzz around this Luke Fickell hire.
Yeah.
And I still say, even after the loss, rightfully so.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was the right guy for the job.
Sure, yeah.
And I think the pieces he put into place, both from a staff perspective and a player perspective, are really good for year one. Right. And I think now that we've seen 2 full games of what the Wisconsin Badgers are, we have understood the expectations. They need to be tempered a little bit, but B, maybe this turnaround from a 6-6 team to a national title contender is more than a 1-year process. And I think a lot of us lost that, idea through the course of the offseason because there was so much buzz and excitement built up. And again, rightfully so, but this team isn't going to go from 6-6 to a top 4 team in the country just in 1 year. And I think that's become evident through 2 games.
It's just, I think the other thing that's hurting him is the success that Deion Sanders is having in Colorado.
For sure.
And
but that's different, right? Like he brought in like 65 transfers.
It's different. But at the same time, I want to say the 2021 Wisconsin recruiting class was the highest rated recruiting class that we've ever had in school history.
Yep.
A lot of those guys are still here. He brought in established players, playmakers, even more big-time recruits. So you can't say, like, we don't have the talent because this is, on paper, this is the best Wisconsin football team ever on paper. So to me, I think that we just made too drastic of a change. Mainly, not saying like with the hires, but mainly the staff and what they've implemented. In my eyes, it's so hard to take a team whose recruits and they've been trained for however many years they've been in the program to run a pro style offense and just say, hey, we're doing the air raid now. Even for the O-line, like the O-line is put on islands now, when before in a pro style offense, where you're never in a 5-man protection. You're never in a 5-man protection. It's always at least 6, at least some type of check release. You're never truly by yourself like that. Now all of our O-linemen are put on islands. Also, we have a 6'2", 245-pound running back. It's a little easier to get 3 yards a pop when you're 9 yards deep and you get a full head of steam before you even hit the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
So, like, not saying like, we shouldn't have made these changes, but I would have loved to see us merge the two a little more. Like, it's okay to come out and do a little bit of, even if it's not truly under center, even if it was pistol 21 personnel running power or whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think they were really trying to turn the page.
For sure.
Right? And I think that was the goal, obviously, and the excitement around the implementation of this air raid offense, the option package for Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator of Wisconsin. I just think it takes more time than 6 months or whatever it was, right, to really understand it. And you mentioned guys have been trained to run the football, and they're still doing that by all means, but it's different.
Yeah.
Tanner Mordecai, should fans be concerned?
No, I mean, I think
he's just getting his footing is kind of my.
I mean that, but he's also, that's who he was at SMU.
Yeah,
like that's who he was at SMU. It's not like he was a program. This is gonna sound bad, but it's not like he was a program changer at SMU and he took them from where they are now to being somebody like UCF or Cincinnati. You know, Coach Fickell and his staff, they played against them a few times. I want to say they're both in the AAC. He's spotty. He's a little inconsistent. I mean, that's just who he's been throughout his career. I think he's going to progress. Yes, he's still getting his footing. He's still adjusting as well. But the thing is, in college football, that's changing. Like, nobody has patience anymore. The patience is gone with the transfer portal, with the movement of the coaches and conference realignments. You don't have time to sit here and say, "Hey, this was a great recruiting class. Give us 3 years. They're going to be amazing." It doesn't work like that.
True or false? Wisconsin will score 60 points against Georgia Southern on Saturday.
I hope it's true.
It's a high number.
I hope it's true. They should be pissed off.
That's what I'm saying.
You should be pissed off. I would.
Number.
Me personally, I want to see a pissed off team. I want to see a team come out pissed off, tenacious. I want to see them punish Georgia Southern. Like, if you just because we're comparing, we want to get to the pinnacle and all the hype that we have for the Wisconsin football program. If I'm being honest, it all came from inside of the program. Like, if they were speaking in more of like a monotone personality or whatever, then nobody will be as pissed. Like, nobody will be mad.
Sure.
But what did we hear? 11 wins is too low. We should be a playoff dark horse. So
yeah,
playoff dark horses don't lose to unranked Washington State. They don't.
High expectations.
Yeah, you don't get out of the first half 14-10 against Buffalo. Like, you dominate these teams. And Washington State is a good program. Mm-hmm. Not like taking anything away from them. They're a good team for sure. No. But you should have won that game like convincingly. Put it like this: Washington State should look like how Buffalo looked. Competitive first half. In the second half, if we're going to be a dark horse playoff team, the expectations for this team, second half we should have been up by 3 touchdowns. Like, it should have turned into that, but it didn't. So I don't know. They got to look themselves in the mirror. But even defensively, like, talking back to merging the two, defensively we're only rushing 3. We're not really bringing that much pressure. That's what all of these guys have been doing for years. Bringing pressure, getting in the quarterback's face, not allowing him to just sit there and dink and dunk us or scramble whenever he wants. Having 3 rushers in the spy, that's not really the same. 4 rushers in the spy helps because you're actually able to get some type of push and some type of rush. With 3 rushers, it's so hard. 2 guys can get double teamed, 1 guy one-on-one, whatever the case is, even if they have a back in there, chipping that one guy.
This guy's going inside football.
Right? Yeah, there's so much. Like,
why aren't you coaching?
Aren't I coaching?
Yeah.
I got a kid, man. I'm not. I play too good a ball, man. I'm not ready to shut that door, man. I still like hitting people.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that, but it's like I'm listening to you talk about this, and it seems like you have the answer.
Oh, because for me, what I love about football, and all the sports that I actually love, which is just football and probably like combat sports.
Let's start this over. What I love about football.
Yeah, excuse me. What I love about football is the mental and physical strain. Like, people think it's just like, I love reading the tweets of people that's just saying, like, just give it to Braylon. Like, let him just run everybody over. Like, you think, are you kidding me? You think that's all it is? You think that's all it is? You think there aren't 240-pound people out there, or a 220-pound strong linebacker can't tackle him? Like, do you think that's the case? There's so much more mental that goes into football. Like, my dad used to tell us 90% of the game is mental, 10% is physical, and it's true. Like, that's why I hate the people get so caught up in these measurables, how fast somebody is, how big somebody is. If you don't have it up here, you're going to be terrible. I'm telling you right now, you're going to suck. There's only a couple of positions where you can just be a freak and they could just say, "Oh, let him go."
What are they?
What DN, are the positions? Probably DN. DN, you could just say, "Oh, let him go." Especially if you have imagine if you had some freak athlete with San Francisco. You got Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw behind you. They're going to just make you right. That's what I love about.
Are you taking a shot at Bosa right now?
No.
I thought you were.
No. I mainly was tipping my hat to those backers. You can almost put any type of athletic freak in front of them, and they can even tell them, like, "Bro, just do what you want. I'll make you right."
USFL first team selection last year.
Yeah.
Second year in the USFL. I know the goal is ultimately probably to get back to the league, right? Mm-hmm. But you signed on for a third year in the USFL with the New Jersey Generals. Yeah. A really nice season last year. You just mentioned it. I'm not ready to give it up yet. I still want to hit people. Mm-hmm. What does the USFL allowed you to do? Like, it's obviously allowed you to play, but what does it allow you to do beside that?
Man, that's a good question. I say beside that, the best part is the family atmosphere. of the USFL. Like my wife and my daughter were able to come to games like with ease. What people don't understand about the NFL is like, yeah, you get tickets, but you have to pay for it. Like it comes out your check. You have to pay for the jersey swaps. You have to pay for that, $300 a pop.
Really?
Yeah.
That part I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew the tickets part. I didn't know the
You got to
jersey
pay for
swap.
that jersey. You got to pay. Well, the jersey is a little different. You get 6.
Well, I got a site from China. If you just want to pay $19 rather than $300,
We're talking about authentic jerseys. Look at that jersey.
looks pretty good.
We're talking about. It does look pretty good. I'm not gonna out you, but there are a few things on there that.
You can out me. I don't care.
First of all, that Nike check.
Backwards.
Yeah.
This is forward, but this is backwards.
The Nike check. The yellow's a little off.
Yep.
I hate this. I hate the jerseys I hate those sleeve jerseys. Like Jair Alexander hated his swag. Hated his swag this weekend. I hate the little frailed out jersey. I
Okay.
feel like only unathletic quarterbacks should wear that, and like kickers.
So like I think of Jake Delhomme when you say that.
Yeah,
I know that's a really
yeah,
deep cut right there,
that
but
is a deep cut.
that is
is
the
a deep
first name
cut.
that came to mind when you said that.
For sure, Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody like that. Yeah, but yeah, man, I say the family atmosphere of the USFL is dope because majority of people in the USFL is 1 or 2 or 1 of 3 people. I say you see people like me, like, oh, you're in the league for a year or 2 or whatever, and you were out and you missed. Good for people like that. There's some guys coming from college who just didn't get a phone call post draft, whether it's rookie mini camp, sign on as an undrafted free agent. There's guys like that, and guys coming from Europe, like your European football leagues, like Avante Turpin, for example. He played in like Germany and then played in like the spring league and then played in the USFL and then got to the Cowboys. So yeah, man. And I like told you I'm a football historian, so like bringing back the old nostalgia of the USFL in the 80s, like Sam Mills and Herschel Walker, all those guys, just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's dope.
So you live in Canton, Ohio for that?
Yes, in Canton. So the way it works is there's 4 hub cities, 8 teams, 2 teams per city. So like in Birmingham was like Birmingham, New Orleans were there, Memphis and Houston were in Memphis, Generals and Pittsburgh Maulers were both in Canton. So all the Wisconsinites were together, which is crazy.
Nice.
I'm the only out of everybody that played at UW that's in the USFL. I'm the only one that wasn't a teammate with them. All of them are on the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Right.
Yep. And then Michigan and Philly, they live in Detroit.
Who were some of the other Badgers? Jack Cohn was in that league, right?
No, Jack
Quarterback?
Cohn was in the XFL.
XFL.
He was in the XFL. Garrett Groshek, Olive, Sagapolu, John Deaton, Mason Stockey, and Isaiah Greenman.
And they were all in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, and Eric Burrell.
Wow.
Yeah,
They're all Burrell was still playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He beat him.
Nice, dude.
With his broken chicken wing.
It's protein chicken. Well, always good catching up with you, Chris. I'm going to ask every guest on Mr. Irrelevant this question. It's the final question. My question is, who would you like to see guest host this show with me? And you have to, the one rule, the one asterisk I have on it is you have to help me book that guest. Lazy and brilliant question here from me.
I want you to get the 2020 NFL Mr. Irrelevant.
Okay, who is that?
Tay Crowder.
Where?
He played linebacker at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
He was Mr. Irrelevant to the Giants. Played out there for like a couple years, and I think he's a free agent now. He was with like Pittsburgh's P Squad last year, and then towards the end of camp this year, he got signed by Chargers, but I think they released him.
So I'm going to say this right away to Tay Crowder. I apologize. I'm not familiar with your game.
I wasn't familiar with your game. Who said that? Shaq? That's Shaq, right?
So, yeah. I wasn't familiar with your game, but I would be happy to talk about your Mr. Irrelevant experience.
You gotta say it like Shaq. Mr. Irrelevant is kind of a big deal.
I mean, it's much bigger than being second to last pick. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
If you were second to last pick, it'd be a lot worse than being the last pick.
I mean, it's bigger
you
than
told me when we were talking off the air before we let you go. You thought you were going to be a Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be Mr. Irrelevant. Because literally, Tay, the Giants called me. They called me, and I was like, "Oh snap!" Like the Giants. This was like with like I think like 3 or 4 picks left. Giants called me, and I'm like, "Oh snap!" Like I think they're about to draft me, bro. I think I'm gonna be Mr. Irrelevant. Like we're gonna go to Disney World. But no, they just told me that they want to sign me if I didn't get a call the next 20 minutes.
4 picks.
Yeah, man. You know, man, that stuff's stressful, bro. You get like some calls. You think every time your phone's ringing, somebody's drafting you. Like even Carolina called me night 2. And I was like, wow, they're reaching for me. Anyway, they called me and they were like, yeah, we're not drafting a backer this year. We'd love to sign you though. And I was like, oh, okay, like dope. Or whatever. I was talking to Cincinnati for so long leading up to it, and they called me the morning of day 3, and they had the first pick of each round. And I'm thinking like, oh snap, I'm about to be the first pick. Like I'm gonna be relaxing today. They called and they was like, man, you ready to be a Bengal? And I'm like, hell yeah, like, hell yeah. It's like, all right, man, sit tight, man. I think we're gonna get you today. And I'm like, okay, like dope. Let's do it. I was like, man, this would be dope.
Skyline Chili, let's go.
Yeah, man, I was like, this would be dope. Like I've been to a conference with my brother. I'll get to see my brother twice a year. Like our families could probably get together at one of them or whatever. And yeah, didn't call me back.
They ghosted you.
Didn't call me back. Then you get calls
man.
from everybody just saying like,
So
we want to sign you, or whatever. Mr. Relevant's big. Like I want to say, like you go to Disney World, you get something else. You get like a few things. There's like a few things you get.
All right. Well, that's too bad. He went undrafted.
That's too bad.
Mr. Relevant.
Yeah, man.
But now you get to be on the Mr. Relevant podcast.
Man. Working man's NFL, man. That's what we call it.
You're the man, Chris Orr.
Always, man.
Chris.
Such a fitting title for you, too. You are irrelevant.
All right. We're going to let him leave now. What Strouf learned in 60 seconds. We're taking a quick time out here on Mr. Irrelevant. Got to tell you about the lineup changes coming to ESPN Madison this afternoon, starting at 2 o'clock in about an hour. It's Kyle Brust and Nortman, KBN with Kyle Wallace, Ben Brust, and Brad Nortman from 2 to 4. And my guys, Jim Rutledge and Matt Hamilton. Rutledge and Hamilton moves into drive time, 4 to 6 p.m. You can catch those lineup changes beginning today and every weekday on 100.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand. I know Jim Rutledge will be feeling good today after a Badgers loss and a Bears loss over the weekend, and he'll be donning a Packers jersey starting at 4 o'clock. Don't miss the new afternoons on ESPN Madison beginning today at 2 o'clock at 100.5 ESPN. Now, we wrap up Mr. Irrelevant. Mr. Irrelevant, it's time for What Strouf Learned each and every episode, 3 times a week. I'm going to tell you what I learned because you learn something new every day. I learned something new this weekend following week 1 of the NFL. Trash talk is a beautiful art. It certainly is a beautiful art. Some people talk trash and they get trash thrown back at them. Some people talk trash and they double down, and some people talk trash and they're just right. And I love that. Let's go through 3 examples of the 3 things I just laid out. First, you talk trash and you get trash thrown back. Back in June, Bears defensive lineman Justin Jones talking about how the Bears were going to become the king of the North, and he's really sad that Aaron Rodgers isn't a Packer anymore because he wants to beat him. Here's Justin Jones back in June.
Man, just the way that they're just freaking obnoxious, just yelling and all that other stuff about things that don't even matter. Like we're not even running the play, and you guys are talking about boo, oh yeah, go green. Like what are we even talking? The game hasn't even started yet. Like what are we even talking about here? Like y'all. Half of them don't even know football. It's so weird to me, but I'm just ready to go back out there and play, and I want to go out there and I want to beat the hell out of them, on their field, and I want to hear the boos then, that's what I look forward to. So.
Justin Jones yesterday in the opener against the Packers. 0 tackles, 0 assisted tackles, 0 quarterback hurries, 0 quarterback sacks, 0 pass deflections, 0 forced fumbles, 0 fumble recoveries. He didn't record a stat. This guy's talking all the trash. He talked more last week. He talked it back in June, and he didn't record a single statistic in the 38-20 loss to the Green Bay Packers. That's talking trash and getting trash thrown back in your face. How about talking trash and doubling down on it? Bengals star receiver Jamar Chase earlier last week calls the Cleveland Browns, who the Bengals lost to yesterday in the opener, called the Browns a bunch of elves. Here's Jamar Chase after the game.
It's frustrating because I called their ass elves, and we just lost to some elves, so.
We lost to a bunch of elves. Jamar Chase doubles down on calling the Cleveland Browns elves. I love a good rivalry. I love a little trash talk. But doubling down on calling a team elves who just whooped your ass is a brilliant level of trash talking. But there is no more brilliant level of trash talking than Jair Alexander, the cornerback of the Green Bay Packers, was asked by Larry McCarron, The Rock, after the game about DJ Moore having a pretty quiet day. Here's Jair.
Yeah, it was real quiet for him. I don't know if anybody thought anything else was going to happen.
And if you're watching on the video side, you kind of see the look Jair gives, and he's wearing his shades and just kind of nodding with that swagger that Jair Alexander has. He talks trash. He backs it up. One of the best cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback in all of the NFL. We're back at it Wednesday. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride with us. Big thanks to Chris Orr and Hunter Vaughn for running the show today. We'll do it again Wednesday at 12:15 live. And if you miss it, you can always listen back on the podcast feed. This has been episode number 1. We'll be back for episode 2, hopefully, of Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strouf.